Now, I hate to be the first to say this and have another hot take like my Nets take, but the Islanders, they're pretty good.
They're not bad. They're definitely not bad. I mean, here they are. I mean, this is a team that just like other New York teams have just defied expectations, and they are right back where they were last year. They're going to be playing the Lightning again, so they're exactly where they want to be, and they did it by having a great series with the Boston Bruins. They showed up. This is a team we mentioned at the very beginning of the show that doesn't have a lot of all-stars. They don't have any one guy. Maybe Matt Barzal is the guy you go to. Brock Nelson has been huge for them, but they don't really have a top 10, even a top 15 player in the league. And yet somehow they keep finding a way. They keep finding a way to scrap together wins. And I think a big part of it is their defense. And I think a big part of it is also their coach. And this is a team that just, it's one of those New York teams that you just have to root for. The New York Saints. I mean, what they're going by the Saints right now. I don't know, just because it's funny. It just makes sense for New York sports fans in the postseason.
It was also wonderful to see the New Orleans Saints be so on board with their name being borrowed for this little period of time here. And, Kelly, as much as you talk about this team defying expectations and not really having any kind of superstars, they are undeniably a team with an exponential amount of talent and depth down the roster, like you mentioned at the top of the show, that has brought them to this point. Just to catch people up in case you haven't been keeping up with the Stanley Cup playoffs. In round two, the technical, I believe it was the Eastern Conference Finals, I guess it really was. They defeated the Bruins in 6 games to win the East in a smaller conference as it is typically now. The NHL has 4 conferences this year, so now the Islanders move on to the Stanley Cup semifinals and will face the Tampa Bay Lightning, like Kelly mentioned. And it's been a crazy ride for them. It's going to continue to be a crazy ride, but there's something magical about this Islanders team, and you could sense that as you hear in this little compilation clip we have here for you of their views on how the series went with the Bruins, their expectations for things with the Lightning, and these are players. This is head coach Barry Trotz. Give it a listen.
You want to close it as quick as you can, and we wanted to do that tonight, and we played the right way, and we got the job done. So weren't really thinking about Game 7 or anything for that. We want to get the job done tonight, and it was a full team effort, and we're happy we're standing here right now with a happy face.
The place is rocking tonight. The fans were feeding us energy. Team played great. One of those nights, Barry touched on it a bit after the game. You'll always remember moments like that. That was a big game, big team effort from everybody, and just feels good having full Coliseum there behind you and playing for them.
We got a group of guys that have been together quite a while. We've added some key pieces, and you get in these high intensity games, and guys just keep showing up for one another. It just builds a bond, and again, it's going to be no easy task. I think Tampa has a great team, defending Cup champs. So it's going to be tough, but we know we believe in ourselves, and we know we're going to need our best to find a way to take them down.
We've talked zero about Tampa Bay, zero, and we just we started out this journey to beat Pittsburgh. We started out, and then we were able to do that, and then we focused in on Boston, and we get a shot to go against the champs again.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta beat the best if you want to win it all. You got to beat the best, and I don't think anybody has been sitting here thinking about revenge on Tampa. Just trying to take it each game, each series one at a time. Now we can kind of turn the page and turn our focus to them. They're obviously a great team, defending champs here again. So it'll be a good battle.
I want to thank our friend and New York Islanders WFUV reporter Mike Messina for getting that little bit of sound bites together for us. But Kelly, the point is, there's a lot to be excited about if you're an Islander or if you're an Islanders fan right now.
So much to be excited for. I mean, anytime you get a rematch with a team that knocked you out the year before in the playoffs, it's exciting. And if you look back to that last match that they had with Lightning, and mind you, this is going to be the first time they've played them since that game because of the way that they've been set up this year. But you take away Lightning's 8-2 win in Game 1, the series was close. I mean, 4 of the 6 games decided by 2 goals or fewer, and the two rosters this year, New York has 19 players on that same team and Tampa Bay has 18. So it's a very similar lineup. Of course, New York without Anders Lee, but their defense has been their guiding factor throughout this season, especially in the playoffs. Their defense has been unstoppable. And they're going to be playing a Lightning team that to me is a little more talented overall, but they, like you mentioned, they just have this magic. They find a way, and they are very physical and they are very aggressive, which is something that the Lightning didn't really have to put up with as much. I mean, they play a much more physical brand of defense than Carolina did. So if they can find a way to, first of all, stay out of the box. You don't want to get in the box with this Islanders team, with the Lightning team, who's very strong on the power play. But if they continue to be aggressive without getting into penalty trouble and just find a way to get goals in the back of the net, I think they're going to be okay. The reason they were so successful against the Bruins was they were able to force people to make mistakes, and it wasn't maybe the most exciting style of hockey, but it's effective. I mean, you look at someone like Taylor Hall on the Bruins. He came into that series on a hot streak, and he just had 1 goal in 6 games. He had just as many fights in the series as he had goals, and that was because of the Islanders' defense. The Islanders they're deep, and that's going to help them go into the season. They're deep and they're scrappy, and they're a really fun team to watch.
I think you're right about the Islanders. They got a lot of magic. They got a lot of grit, more importantly than anything, and depth, as we keep mentioning. And, I think something that we don't talk about enough in playoff scenarios, but specifically in the Stanley Cup playoffs, is how much fatigue plays a factor. And that's not going to affect anyone from last season more than the Tampa Bay Lightning, because the turnaround was an odd one after last year, after playing the full length amount of games you could play and then having to play this odd season that's had to be played. That's going to affect Tampa Bay. That's something that in hockey more than any other sport seems to carry over between seasons. So that's something that's going to work to the Islanders' advantage. But more than anything, they just seem to have so much momentum right now. You talk about, maybe Tampa Bay is a little more talented of a team, and you might be right in saying that. I like to say, New York Rangers players like to retire in Tampa Bay because that seems to be what happens. But the point is, you look at this Islanders team, and not only are they really good right now and have a lot of depth right now, but there's a youth there as well. This is a team that has a sense of longevity. You look at the prime area of Islanders history. It's the early 1980s, 4 straight Stanley Cups. I'm not saying this team is at that level right now, at least, but they're really good, and they're really young, and they're going to be competing for a long time at this level.
You want to talk about momentum going into the playoffs? Yes, I all 4 of these teams has played very well as of lately. I mean, you look at the Islanders, they're a team that they didn't score a lot in the regular season. However, they're the top scoring team in the playoffs right now. And you look at the goal totals in the playoffs so far, 6-5-4, 1-4-2. So they're scoring goals. They're playing better than ever. And maybe part of that is the fact that they're young and they're healthy and fatigue hasn't set in as much. Whereas you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, they also just got 2 players who were resting for a long time. One was resting this whole time, and now he's back, and he's been their best player so far. So maybe you could argue that they have a lot of momentum. I mean, but then you just look at the Knights and what they've been able to do, and I don't know if I can see a team beating them, especially after they eliminate the Colorado Avalanche the way that they did, and made them look like pretenders almost. They just didn't even. It wasn't even really a close series. So I think they're very strong, and I don't know. To me, this is the winner of this final. The Stanley Cup is not as clear as maybe we talked about with the NBA. I feel like all 4 of these teams have good enough defensemen. Good enough. I think the goalies on all 4 of these teams are very strong. So I don't think. To me, it's not as obvious.
Yeah, it's certainly not as obvious. And like you mentioned, goaltending is going to be a big factor here. I think. Especially, you look at the Lightning, have been one of the best goaltending teams in hockey this season. And the Islanders, at least they've proved this in the playoffs, are a team that love to score. So something's got to give. We'll see what it ends up being in the Islanders series. It really could be anything. But in terms of the Islanders, I think the real question here is, they're a team that's good, but they're a team that's younger than these 3 other teams, and a team that has, I would say, the brightest future of these 4 teams ahead of them in terms of the guys that got on the roster right now. So what is satisfactory for the Islanders? What is this already a point where you could be satisfied with the season and everything else is just gravy, or like would taking the Lightning to 7 be the most satisfactory thing to happen?
Because of what happened last year, I don't think you can be satisfied with an early exit here. You have to at least take the Lightning to Game 7. I think they will. I don't see a situation in which they don't. I think just their matchups. I think it is a good matchup, and the Islanders. It's going to come down to they have to stick to a game plan, and they have to be, they have to be good with their goaltending has to be elite. They have to stay above that 920 level, and they need to take advantage on power plays because this Lightning team is just known for stopping the power play and also being very, very good when they have that extra man advantage. So they just need to be disciplined. And if they do that, I see no reason why they can't be in the Stanley Cup finals. And I think making it to the finals would be, for me, I think that's the benchmark for success. Now, if they're able, I believe the Golden Knights are going to be who they would play in that situation. And I don't know if they have the team right now, especially without Anders Lee, to make that happen. But I think making it to, I think they should be aiming to make the finals. And once they're there, at least make it to Game 6, maybe. That would be, to me, that would mark a successful season for this team.
Well, after a really long time of being a subpar team, I think the Islanders getting to the Stanley Cup Finals would be a real benchmark in their history. So that'd be very exciting to see.